Good morning. My name is Tedman Wong, hearing officer for San Francisco Public Works. Sharice Waiters is the clerk for this hearing. This hearing is being recorded via Zoom and will be available afterward through a link on the San Francisco Public Works website, sfpublicworks.org. As this is a virtual hearing, there's no sign-in sheet, so if you would like to receive information about the results of this hearing, please send an email to the email address listed on the hearing notice. This public hearing is being held to consider. It was originally being held to consider 3 items. One item has actually been postponed to a later hearing. And those 3 items are hearing order 207-617 to consider an appeal from the property owner for the fine issued for the illegal pruning of one street tree adjacent to 547 Naples Street. The fine levied for the illegal pruning is $2,302. And the second item is hearing order 207-621 to consider an appeal from the property owner for the fine issued for the illegal removal of one street tree adjacent to 2193 Oakdale Avenue. The fine levied for the illegal removal is $10,000. My job as the hearing officer is to gather the facts for the hearing item, listen to your testimonies, and help our director of Public Works make determinations. I will not be making any decisions today. Instead, I will forward the findings from this hearing and make my recommendation to the director. The director will make the final determinations. When the director's determinations are made, the department will notify you of them if you have provided contact information. The hearing will proceed as follows for each of the cases. I will ask Public Works staff to speak first and present the case. Then I will allow the property owner or appellant to speak. Then any member of the public or witness who wants to speak. Then the department, if the department would like to address any comments. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. The clerk will monitor the time for all speakers and will indicate when the speaker has 30 seconds left. If you are a party to this proceeding, I will call on you to speak. If you would like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let me know before you speak. You will then have the standard 3 minutes to provide your comments. If you are a member of the public or witness who wants to speak, wait for me to call for public comments, then use Zoom's raise your hand feature to put yourself in the queue to speak. When it is your turn to speak, I will recognize you. If you would like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let me know before you speak. You will then have the standard 3 minutes to provide your comments. Comments and questions should be addressed to me and not to the department. If you cannot finish your comments within the allotted time, you may submit written testimony to me by the end of this hearing. If I feel that a question is warranted, I will ask the question. After all comments are completed, I will close the item. We will now begin the hearing. The first item on the agenda is public comments, and this is for matters within the department's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda. Is there anybody who wishes to make any public comments? If not, we'll move on to the first hearing order 207-617. And I will hand over to Daniel Hoffman from Public Works to make the presentation.
Thank you, Tedman. I will share my screen and the presentation we have lined up here. So I'm just going to give some background about our program here and some of the reasons why these fines have come up. So I believe, which screen am I on here? Hold on, bear with me. Wrong screen, so bear with me. Having some technical difficulties, so come on. And All right. Okay. So you should be only seeing the front page screen. So this is the admin hearing today, the 15th. So are you not seeing it, Cerise? There might
I'm
be
not seeing.
a lag.
Hold on just a moment. Okay, now it says you're starting to show. Okay.
All
There
right.
we are.
I just want to make sure you're not seeing the notes slide as well. Okay, thank you. So the tree ordinance, which is our Article 16, establishes authorization and the standards for addressing a wide range of issues regarding trees in the public right of way. This Article 16 of the Public Works Code. Trees are protected in the city under this article, and an injury or destruction to trees is prohibited. It is actually unlawful for people to intentionally, maliciously, or through gross negligence injure or destroy a street tree. Any tree on city property in the public right of way or other protected trees, such as significant trees or a landmark tree. Significant trees are not in the public right of way and are protected on people's private property. So that is in the code. So in addition to the penalties, which are set forth, trees that are illegally removed will be subject to a minimum of $10,000 fine. And any injuries or illegal pruning is subject to a fee of the diminishment of the tree's value. So let's say a tree was initially $25,000 and then they pruned the tree and it's found to be only worth $20,000. The offender would have to pay $5,000. So the difference between the value and the diminished value. So again, if it's illegally removed, in addition to paying the fee, it is in the code that the property owner or the offender must also replace the tree. And the replacement tree must be a total diameter equal to or greater than the tree that was removed. So we could get more into this. But Article 16 says you need to get a permit to remove a tree. And the tree needs to go through the permitting process and it needs to be replaced. If it can't be replaced because of some conflicts with the planting location, then a fee is assessed. And if trees require any protection because of a construction project, those protections need to be in place. We need to see the materials surrounding the tree so that it doesn't get damaged. And if the tree gets damaged because of that, then the person who damages it is responsible for that. So injury to a tree means any cutting, carving, painting, transplanting, knocking over, any type of, molestation of the tree can be considered injury. Additionally, any addition of gases, liquids, or improper substances to the tree well can also be considered damaging to the tree. So these are all things we want to avoid, and pruning itself can also be damaging to the tree, causing it to die, decline in health, or become more of a risk in the future. And again, we do have administrative penalties for this type of behavior. So to reiterate, removal of a tree without a permit has a minimum fine of $10,000. Illegal pruning, you'll have to pay equal to the diminished value of the tree. And this can compound if it's found that somebody violates this article multiple times, the fee will get worse. And it should be noted that these can have criminal penalties. If the city would like to, they could file criminal charges against the person who destroys or illegally removes a tree. Although in a lot of instances we don't need to, because the removal is not really out of malice, and you know, we recognize and notice that. So to summarize, trees are big benefits to the community and to our urban infrastructure and urban environment. They are protected here in the city. Permit is required to remove a tree. Injuring a tree is illegal, and injuring a tree can lead to really increased maintenance cost on the trees. It could lead to poor health for the tree, a lot of issues that we would rather avoid. And when you illegally remove a tree, or anytime a tree is removed, even with a permit, it needs to be replaced. And it is the property owner's responsibility, and everybody in the city's responsibility, to know the law. Ignorance is not an excuse. And you know, we do have extensive outreach, extensive materials where you can get these answers. So best management practices are pretty much set in stone by the standardizing party. So the International Society of Arboriculture sets standards, ANSI sets standards, and those standards, you know, are designed to keep the tree from being shocked or being negatively impacted from a pruning event. If you remove more than 25% of the tree's canopy, there's a real possibility that the tree could die from that, and be shocked and have ongoing health issues following that event. And removing all of the branches, removing all the leaves is definitely bad for trees. So don't top trees. It's not a recognized pruning practice. It causes issues for the trees down the road, and that's just bad for the. I personally don't think it's aesthetically pleasing either, but so people will a lot of times argue that, oh, you know, the tree's alive, it's coming back, it's regrowing, you know, it's not dead, the health hasn't been affected. But it's really important to recognize that this is not a success story. This is a problem waiting to happen down the line. A lot of these branches, if, you know, not selectively removed, could potentially fail in the future and, you know, hurt somebody, cause property damage, that sort of thing. So this is something we need to avoid, and this is really bad for the tree. And again, you could see that when trees are topped, they put off what's called reactionary growth, trying to regrow their canopy as soon as possible in no real structured way. They just want to get as many leaves out there as they can so that they can continue to create sugars, which will then allow them to make flowers and seeds. So after the tree's been topped and it's allowed to grow back for, let's say, 5-10 years, it eventually will look like this tree here. All these branches are crossing over each other. There's decay at the unions. This tree is a problem waiting to happen, and the management of this tree becomes way more difficult because we have to think a lot harder about what we're going to do to this tree to reduce its risk, if we can even do anything without removing it. So a lot of times this problem cannot be fixed and requires the tree to be removed. So we want to really avoid this. Not only do you deal with poor structure after poor pruning practices, you invite entry points for pathogens such as bacterial pathogens and fungal pathogens. It also allows a location for pests to take advantage of, to bore into. Bark is like your skin. It's the barrier between the outside and the inside. And when you expose the inside, you're just asking for infections and problems. So illegal or improper pruning practices can also lead to this issue. And it should be noted that you will see trees, for example, in near Civic Center and in Golden Gate Park that appear to have been topped. But this is really a different practice. What you see on the left is called pollarding. It's a pruning practice that takes the branches back to an old cut. And the practice on the right is topping, which doesn't go back to an old cut, doesn't go back to a lateral branch, is not the same for the tree, and the tree will not react in the same way. So it's important not to get these two pruning practices confused with each other. And a lot of people will also say that, oh, I had to prune the tree because it was near the power line. I was concerned it was going to start a fire or something like that. But I believe that everybody, if they've, been around the block for a while, should know that PG&E manages trees for the power lines. Our crews aren't even able to work within 10 feet of the high voltage power lines because of the danger involved with that. And we do manage trees for the lower lines, for specific, when they meet specific criteria. But for the most part, it's really unlikely that a street tree is gonna interact with the power lines because PG&E is constantly inspecting and maintaining trees for that issue. So leave it to the professionals. If our crews can't prune around electrical lines, then you probably shouldn't be pruning around electrical lines either. And StreetTreeSF is our tree maintenance program. We do have a routine maintenance program here in the city, where the trees are being pruned on a 3 to 5 year maintenance cycle. Because of COVID, because of staffing issues, and because of a lot of other reasons, we've been having challenges maintaining that cycle. So there has been a delay in service, although we are still servicing the city. So if you're having issues, reach out to us. We'll try to give you predictable timelines. But we are pruning trees every single day out there on the street. So this slide shows our current grid, and some of the numbers that we have for our street tree maintenance program. We'll have $19 million set aside for pruning of street trees. And since 2017, we've been out there in the streets. This image shows our projected timeline for when these neighborhoods are going to be pruned. And the colors signify, the priority. If you have more questions about this, we could give you a lot more details. Just send us an email or reach out to us on the phone. And since the start of StreetTreeSF back in 2017, only 50% of the total tree maintenance needs have been addressed. So we have pruned more than 64,000 trees, but there's still a lot more that we're still trying to get to. We provide door hangers when we're going to come through and prune, and we've passed out brochures in the past, and a lot of our information is available on our website. So again, ignorance is not an excuse for not knowing the law, and it's important to be aware of what's going on. So that's the background. I know it kind of takes a long time, but it's important to know all of that, because these people are faced with these fines, and we need to resolve that. So the first order we get to 207-617 547 Naples Street. The property owner has appealed the fine for the illegal pruning of one tree adjacent to this address. So the fine is the standard fee for illegal pruning. This is our typical fee for a tree that is usually not in that great of shape, but it does provide benefits to the community still. So this tree is a Pyrus caleriana, or a ornamental pear tree. This picture is from 2021. And you could see that there's been a lot of regrowth from a previous topping event that was completed in 2013. So there's a ton of branches. They're all really closely packed together, and this tree's just a dense ball of sticks, pretty much. So in 2022, the tree was topped really heavily. Almost all of the branches removed, and the tree left in this condition. So again, here we have the tree in 2022 with big topping cuts. Again, this tree's gonna grow back really poorly. It's gonna cause increased maintenance costs for the city. And if anything happens because of this tree, the city could be liable for damages because it is a street tree. So we feel the fine is warranted in this instance.
Thank you, Daniel. Now we will open it to the property owner or appellant to speak, and I believe this one
Hi.
was Julie.
Yes. This is Julie's son. Yeah. So the slide was definitely very insightful. And when we had the issue of the big trees, we had community pressure. People were saying that it was scratching cars, and they were complaining to us. We felt like we had to do something about it. And I believe my mom hired, I guess, some people that didn't do a good job of pollarding. And they did it this way. I did have some pictures but it just looks like what a topped tree after a regrowth looks like. Yeah, and we did try to call 311 as to address this tree, but it was largely ignored. And we were concerned about the power lines, and although you mentioned that PG&E does it, but it was not addressed. Like, you want?
How about this and the street cleaner? You know, every time they get up.
And the street cleaners, because of the tree, they don't clean the street because the tree is in the way, so they always go around and the street will be always dirty. And people complain about the tree. Yeah, and definitely we learned a lot from listening to the PowerPoint. Knowing that you guys do it on a schedule, we'll make sure to not be proactive about it. And hopefully this can be appealed. Yeah, and my mom just said that because it was tilted, we were worried that if it would fall into the house or on a tree or a person. Yeah. Jima. Yeah. I think that's all we have. Are there any questions to us?
Thank you. Now I will open up the floor to anybody from the public who has any comments. Not seeing any from the public. Daniel, is there anything you wanted to add at the end here?
No other comments.
Okay, great. Thank you. There are no more comments for this item. I will now close the item and will make my recommendation to the director. Just order number 207-617 is now closed. We'll be moving on to hearing order 207-621. And I now have Daniel make the presentation for Public Works.
Okay, unmute here and start. Share. There we go. Okay, sorry. I'm having a hard time with this presentation today. We changed the format a little bit, so. The Oakdale one. Okay, so this is for the illegal removal of a tree at 2193 Oakdale. The property owner has appealed the fine for this illegal removal. So here we have a photo of the tree. Believe this photo was taken in July 2022. You could see it's the only tree kind of in a close area here. Actually, on October 29th, one of our senior public works employees witnessed this removal in action and spoke with the person on site. Our employee recorded a video, and in here in this image of the video, you could see the tree is on the ground, having been somehow pushed over. And in this screenshot of the video, you could see this gentleman here with something in his hand. It looks kind of like a rope or a chain maybe. Oh, I didn't realize the video actually played. So here we can see the tree is down in the street. So our employee confronted the person here and found out that the tree had been ripped out with a chain. Intentionally removed. So we didn't have a permit. This was not brought to our attention, and we didn't have a chance to evaluate this tree to figure out if it did meet the criteria for being removed or not. And here, this image was taken late December. This is the site here without a tree. And again, to just reiterate, if an abutting property owner removes a tree without obtaining a permit, it should be replaced. And it should be replaced in kind. So the size needs to be the same. So we determined that in this instance, the property owner is required to submit a retroactive removal permit and plant either 3 24-inch box size trees or 2 36-inch box size trees. The species and location will be approved by our department. And that is the end of this presentation.
Thank you, Daniel. And now, do we have anybody from the property owner or the appellant who would like to speak?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes. And I don't know if, so this is Raimondo Forley. I'm with Valhalla Real Estate. We are the property management company for the building at Oakdale. I don't know if the tenant is here as well. Can you confirm if you see someone beyond myself? I'm connected via Zoom.
There appears to be an
Yes, there is one other name, S. Mickles. Is that let me see. Can you hear me? Are you able to unmute yourself and speak?
I can hear you.
Okay. Oh, okay, that's not the property owner, correct?
No.
I don't see any other,
Okay.
Mr.
So,
Wong.
so in any case, I spoke with the tenant, right, and he told me a few comments here on this situation. Specifically, he mentioned that the tree was bending significantly and obstructing access to parking on the site, similarly to the previous case. He considered it to be unsafe and dangerous, and also had the impression that the tree was dead. So our doctor there has tracks, and he would hit the side of the track constantly. Those tracks that they have like those side boxes, right? He said he called multiple times 311 to report the issue. Nothing was happened. He really believed that the tree was dead. And so out of frustration, as most of these cases are, because it seems that it's clear that malice is not the case. These are residents and, of our city that are frustrated for the fact that they call 311 and nothing happens to the tree. We understand obviously the logic that Daniel described of the funding and, resources and operation efficiency and all that stuff. But, at the end of the day, somehow there's this frustration building that brings to an action that probably, could be avoided. So one day he removed the tree. He's reporting also, this tenant or doctor, that the tree next door to it is also, in his opinion, dead and unaddressed. The tree has been like that for many, many years. And another tenant next door, Ames Tools, kind of is himself convinced that the tree is dead. So it was mentioned that a permit was not submitted to request an evaluation, right? If indeed the tree was dead, but that's kind of the impression. So $10,000, obviously the tenant says is an unreasonable amount of money for that specific type of tree. He acknowledged that he did something, given the presentation, out of frustration, that probably should have not done, but it has to be reasonable, right? He's happy eventually to replace that tree with something similar in size that is probably estimating to be, value of, a few $100 cost to plant it. Not
30 seconds.
Yeah. So that's kind of the comment from myself. Again, I understand the position, obviously, of DPW. These actions are never taken out of malice. There's maybe some ignorance on how to do the process, right? DPW Forestry deals with it on a daily basis. An independent person never, involved with these things. They don't know about it. It's always out of frustration because, you call 311 about tree and nothing happens. So that's the only thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anybody from the public who wishes to speak about this order? I'm not seeing anybody. Daniel, would you like to follow up with any comments?
Yeah, I do have a few comments. I know not everybody is trained as an arborist, but it's obvious to me that in the video, the tree is still alive. Living trees are green and have leaves, and it is obvious to me that this tree was green and living when it was removed. So the assumption that it was dead, I feel, is yeah, I don't know if that's really quite believable by me. And additionally, I don't know if they were misinformed, but it is still a fact that even a dead tree must be permitted for removal. It is also a fact that we will waive the removal application fee for a dead tree. I must also state that a tree like this, which is established, has been here for a number of years. is minimum valued at $2,302. That's the price that it would cost to get a tree, not even this size, in this location, and to water it for 3 years and have it become established. So to recommend that this tree is only valued around $100 or $200 is incorrect, and that needs to be stated. And I have no other comments.
Thank you, Daniel. There are no more comments for this item. I will now close the item and will make my recommendations to the director. Order number 207621 is now closed. Now we'll move on to kind of a general comment time, especially for those who came late or didn't have a chance to speak yet. If anybody who has not spoken yet would like to make any comments on anything from today, let me know and I will call on you to speak. Not seeing anybody. There are no more public comments. I am closing this hearing. This hearing is now closed.